the OBV indicator, which can be very useful. Like always, I'm going to be using TradingView here for today's video, completely free to use. And we're going to start by taking a look at the chart for NEO stock. Now, first things first, OBV stands for on balance volume. It is a technical indicator of momentum using volume changes to make price predictions. So the first thing I want to do here is show you guys where to find this indicator and how to add it to your chart. But first, guys, I'd like to introduce today's sponsor, Moomoo. So right now you can get 10 free stocks, each valued up to $2,500 with a $100 deposit. Moomoo is a commission-free online trading platform that allows you to invest in stocks, ETFs, options, and ADRs. Plus, Moomoo offers a comprehensive stock screener. It allows you to track institutional buys and holds. And my favorite feature, guys, is that it allows you to unlock 24/7 premium news for free, which gives you access to real-time news from leading financial media and also an all-in-one market calendar of key events coming up. So check out Moomoo, guys. Again, I'll put a link to them in the description below. So let's get right into this video here, guys. Let's go ahead and start by showing you where you find the OBV and how to add it to your chart. So you want to go to the top here and you want to go to indicators. So click on this and then just type in OBV. And as you can see under technicals, you should see on balance volume. Again, that's what it stands for. So go ahead and click on this once and then go ahead and close out of this window. And so as you can see, it has added our OBV down here. So this is the OBV indicator that you see down here. Now, what does the OBV tell us? So the OBV measures buying and selling pressure as a cumulative indicator, adding volume on up days and subtracting it on down days. So I actually want to quickly show you guys how this is calculated. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at how this is calculated here very quickly. So let's take a look here. So if the closing price is above the prior close price, then the current OBV is going to equal the previous EBV plus the current volume. Okay, so there's one way that it's calculated. The second way, if the closing price is below the prior close price, then the current OBV is going to equal the previous OBV minus the current volume. The third way is if the closing price is equal the prior close price, then the current OBV is going to equal the previous OBV. So there would be absolutely no change here, right? So depending on what the closing price is in comparison to the prior closing price, this is how it would be calculated. Now, here's a very important thing. The formula and the actual value here of the OBV indicator are not important, guys. Okay, what is important here, what we want to focus instead on is we want to concentrate on the direction of the OBV relative to the price of the security. So here's the theory here. The theory is that volume precedes price. So in other words, a rising OBV reflects positive volume pressure that can then potentially lead to higher prices before the higher prices actually happen. So the theory is that the OBV often moves before the price does. So if we can see what the OBV is doing, we can potentially predict where the market might be heading next. Now, the first thing I want to talk about here when it comes to the OBV is the OBV can help us identify and confirm the trend. So here's what you want to do. You want to look at the OBV and you want to see what it's doing. So for example, if I start here on May 11th and I take a look at where it was heading, I notice that it's going up, a little bit down, up, a little bit down, further up, right? So it's making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, right? So it's basically in an uptrend. So I see that the OBV here is in an uptrend. Now what you want to do next is you want to look at the price of the actual security. What was that doing? So if I look at what NEO was doing, the actual price here during that same time period, you will see that it was doing the same thing. It was making a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So it was in the exact same trend as the OBV. So this basically helps us confirm that we were in a very strong uptrend during this time, because these two match pretty much identically here. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do. You want to look at the trend and then take a look at the trend of the security. Do they match? If they do match, it helps us confirm the trend. And if it's very identical like this is right here, it tells us that it was a pretty strong uptrend here. Now here's where it starts to get interesting and how this can be very useful. If the trend does not match, this could be used to potentially generate a signal here. And so let me show you an example of how a lot of traders potentially use this indicator here. So let's start here with this first example using NEO. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to March 14th. March 14th was right here. Right? Notice NEO here at the at the bottom, very bottom, peaked at around maybe $13 or so. Right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to draw a line from right there, right, from where this was at the bottom, and then I'm going to connect it to this bottom we saw a little bit after. Okay, and here's basically what we're doing here. If the trend does not match, right, if the trend does not match, this could be used to generate a signal, like I mentioned earlier. Because now what happens if I go down here to the OBV and I connect the exact same points, right, which is from here to here. What do we see here? What can we tell here? Notice over here, what was the trend? The trend, it was going down, right? It basically made a new lower low, right? It went from this previous low and it made a new low. So it made a new lower low. Notice the line here is sloping downwards. What do we see in the OBV? The OBV did not make a lower low. The OBV made a higher low. Notice the line here is sloped upwards. So here we can see the trend was not the same here. And again, this is what we want to potentially look out for. So basically, if prices are flat or they're moving down, like we saw here, right? The price was actually moving down and made a new lower low. But the OBV is rising, which it did here, right? The OBV went here, it actually made a higher low. This line is rising, it's sloping upwards. Then this potentially signals to us that the price of the stock is about to move higher. And indeed, what happened to the price of the stock after this? Right, it went from basically about 11 bucks to all the way, $24 basically. Right? And so by the way, this is called bullish divergence. So let me just show you that very quickly here for those of you that are not familiar with divergence, right? So I'm focusing on regular divergence here today. This is an example of a bullish divergence where again, the price made a new lower low, but the indicator made a higher low. This potentially again signals a bullish move for the stock coming up. Again, it's not always going to be the case, but a lot of the times it is. So you would want to, potentially, pair this up with price action or something else, right? But basically, again, what we saw here is that the trend was not the same during this time period, right? The price itself made a new lower low, so price went down. OBV made a higher low, so it went up. And so this is bullish divergence. You can potentially expect the price to move up. And it did, in fact, right? It went again from $11 to $24 after this. So basically, when it comes to the OBV, a lot of traders use it for, checking the trend, confirming the trend. And if they don't see that the trend is the same, we will look for things like this, like divergence. And, again, potentially signal an entry here. Now let's take a look at an example of bearish divergence. So remember, bearish divergence is this one right here. So here with bearish divergence, we'd want to see the price make higher highs while the indicator makes lower highs. So let me show you an example of this here. So I'm going to actually use Boeing for this example right here. So I'm going to go to Boeing and I'm going to go back to December 7th, 2022. So let me go back to Trendline and I'm going to go back to December 7th, 2022, like I mentioned. So right here. right? If I plot a point here, and then I go and plot another point at the next higher high, which is right here, right? We see, what do we see? We see that it made a new higher high. So this line here is sloping upwards. Now let's take a look at what happened at the exact same time for the OBV. So if I go back and I draw another line and I start exactly where I started up here down here for the OBV, so on December 7th, right? And I connect this point exactly where we connected the second point on the price, which was right here. Again, what do we see here? Right? We see that again, the actual price here made a higher high. The line is sloping upwards. However, if we look at the OBV, what did the OBV do? OBV made a new lower high and the line is sloping downwards. So again, the trend here was not the same, right? The trend here was not the same. So if the prices are flat or moving up, but the OBV is falling like it was doing here, you can potentially expect for the price to move lower. Again, that is known as bearish divergence, which again is what I showed you over here, right? The price made a new higher high, indicator made a new lower high. So again, not always, but a lot of the time, especially if you use other things like price action to confirm this, this signals that the stock, the price is about to move lower. And in fact, what happened after this, right? You can see that the price for Boeing went from basically 280 to at the low, got down to below 220 or so, right? So it made a huge move downward. So again, this is a really great way to basically look at the trend, confirm the trend. Is it a strong trend? And if the trend does not match, you want to look out for divergence here. Bullish divergence, bearish divergence. It can definitely be very useful, guys. So that is the OBV, again, the on balance volume indicator. If you guys have any questions about anything I just talked about, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Check out the Discord, link to it in the description below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys next time.